views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Darren Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, we'll give you an update on what's been going on right here in the Bronx. Plus, in national news, former CIA chief says the Russians were in contact with Trump associates during the election. Meanwhile, the White House releases President Trump's full 2018 budget request. We'll discuss more with our political commentators on both matters and then some. Then after that, we're going to discuss the push for universal free lunch right here for students in New York City when we sit down with a member from Community Food Advocates. And then we're going to sit down with the Bronxite that is working across the world to bring peace and healing through mission trips. And then we'll hear from the Like-Minded People NYC organization discussing their upcoming events. We want you to stay with us because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Darren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, May 24th. And, of course, you're watching Open, a live program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. Now, we want to encourage you to stay connected to us. You can find out more about us at Twitter, at BronxNet TV, and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, this past Monday, during an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, England, a bomb goes off, killing 22 innocent people. Manchester police have identified the suicide bomber as 22-year-old Salman Abedi. They've also arrested a 23-year-old that they believe were tied to the attack and two other suspects. According to U.S. intelligence, the attacker has had ties to al-Qaeda and has received terrorist training abroad. Now, as the story continues to unfold here in New York City, we've taken several security precautions and as well as sending condolences to the British government, paying their respects to those who have died in the attack. Well, here locally, the Bronx and Staten Island might have access to city bikes. Motivate City Bike parent company has pitched a 5-borough plan that would avoid spending tax dollars, according to officials. Now, the proposal includes adding 6,000 bikes to the system, with 4,000 of them in areas that lack dock stations, like here in the Bronx as well as Staten Island. In exchange, Motivate is asking for an extension of the agreement that would only allow their company to run a bike share on the street, along with expanding advertisement as well as ending certain fees. Now, borough officials say they're looking forward to possible expansion, and they'll keep their eyes open. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced that the city is investing $50 million in the Hunts Point Distribution Center. Now, the investment will support 8,500 jobs already at the hub. It'll create 500 permanent unionized construction jobs. The majority of the city food supply comes from the center, and it generates about $3 billion in sales annually. The investment will secure and bring more jobs to the Bronx, according to Mayor de Blasio. Praxis Housing Initiative, New York City's largest provider of transitional housing for homeless people with HIV, has opened up a lottery for 14 affordable housing units. The 66-unit building that was built in 2015 has specially reserved 14 apartments for those earning 60% of the median income, while the other 50 units are allocated for the homeless. Qualified New Yorkers can now apply for the affordable apartments at 2264 Loring Place North, and they have up until June 14th to fill out an application. Well, in August of 2018, the Old Bronx Courthouse will become the home to the Success Academy of High School of Liberal Arts. The iconic building that was built in the 20th century will now be the home to accommodating 12,000 students. Success Academy plans to create lecture halls, science labs, and galleries for students' work, as well as much more. In other news, Bronx Week has officially come and gone, but a part of this historic week, officials gathered to celebrate Bronx's hometown celebrities at the annual Bronx Ball. Reporters Yessi Diaz and Marvidad Batista have the story.
Welcome to the 2017 Bronx Ball, the borough's special event where we welcome home Bronx icons.
This year's honorees have excelled in their chosen crafts by holding on to their ideals and passions they obtained here in the Bronx.
So join us as we hit the red carpet here at the 2017 Bronx Ball.
This is the 20th anniversary of the Walk of Fame, and we have a wonderful class of honorees from Dr. Villafaña to Selene Leiva, Funk Master Flex, who is a pioneer in hip-hop, and of course Prince Royce. What we do here is, thanks to the Bronx Tourism Council, to the Bronx Over Economic Development Corporation, we honor people who have done great things, who come from the Bronx, but also part of the criteria is that you have to wear coming from the Bronx as a badge of honor.
This is an exciting evening for us because we're able to honor some of our former Bronx residents, those who are representing the Bronx nationally and internationally, and we're delighted to do that. And so it's a great night to celebrate the Bronx and celebrate all the different, diverse, brilliant and gifted and talented people in it.
Well, I'm excited to meet some of the honorees. Many of them come here and they're just shocked that, wow, I'm in the Bronx. We have a gentleman, Dr. Manny Villafaña, who came from Minnesota, and his family's excited about being in the Bronx.
And it's just thrilling to be singled out in this way by Ruben Diaz Jr., the Bronx Borough President, and also by Bronx Tourism Council.
I think it's an honor. I think it's a pleasure for me. Coming from the Bronx, I grew up on Patterson Projects, 140 and 3rd Avenue, not far from the concourse, and I think it's a pleasure for me. I would always walk down there and say, one day my name's going to be on there, and I think the day came, and I hope my story is inspiration to the youth, to kids like me that grew up in the Bronx that want to be somebody, that they want to be a doctor, they want to be, a singer, actor, whatever it is, and anything's possible with a lot of work.
Oh, yeah. Amazing. Shout out to Ruben Diaz Jr. He's really great, and from the Bronx. This is amazing.
I'm loving it. We've had a day where we've gone and reviewed some of the old things I used to live with over here, and even visited my old street where I was born and raised, East 139th Street.
It feels amazing. I always come back to the Bronx because my parents still live here and it's home, but to be inducted in such a big way, this is huge. And then the inductees also, it's a girl's dream come true, really.
Well, there you can see a great time was had at the Bronx Ball. Of course, stay tuned to BronxNet as we continue to bring you more of the highlights from Bronx Week. You can catch it all right here on BronxNet. We're taking a quick break, and we'll be back with more Open right after this.
Look, it's those guys.
What's good? What's up? What's happening today?
Let's do those pearly whites, man.
Yeah.
The boys, check it
Ooh, cute.
Are you good to try?
I'm fine. Hey girl, what's up? What's the name? What's good? What's up?
What's happening? How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Sir, go and step out of the vehicle for me.
Yes, sir.
See ya, buddy. Today, Sean's got a hearing. We'll see how it goes. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally. I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands?
My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on a sidewalk?
Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. That's actually what I was going to say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
I wish I was in school. If only I had a math test today. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I wish I was in school.
School ends, but free lunches for your kids don't have to. Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/summer meals for help.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
In a public hearing, former CIA Director John Brennan testified before the House Intelligence Committee about the Russian investigation. Now, Brennan stated that Russia brazenly interfered in the 2016 presidential election, but also stated he didn't know if there's any collusion. Also, President Trump releases his 2018 budget that includes a lot of budget cuts and budget deficits and goes against some of his campaign promises, according to critics. Here now to discuss these issues, we welcome now BMCC professor and attorney at law, J.C. Polanco, and owner of Retrovision Media, Lee Bynes. And good to have you here, gentlemen, once again. And let's start off, first of all, with President Trump, actually right now as we speak, out in Italy, meeting with the Pope. He's had a meeting with the Pope. A lot of things going on here at home while he's abroad. But first of all, let's talk about Russia, the latest coming out with former CIA Director John Brennan. The fact that he cannot say collusion, but Lee, on this part, while collusion isn't confirmed, there's still a lot of red flags.
Absolutely. And you know, it's so funny that you led into this story with the fact that the president is visiting with the Pope this morning. I would think if he's smart, he'd be asking for a few favors from the Pope to, say a word or two that he could ease out of the situation he's in right now. These hearings that are taking place, especially what happened with John Brennan yesterday, indicating that where he couldn't specifically say the word collusion existed, he did intimate and actually state that there was enough fire for the FBI to go ahead and conduct a serious investigation before he left office. So yeah, the pressure is mounting. I got some notes here. Trump hires legal team to prep for a long fight over the Russia connection inquiry. He's brought on Mark Kasowitz and Michael Cohen. These are attorneys that he's been working with over 15, 20 years. The Trump is putting together a crisis management team to handle the real possibility of an impeachment situation. Now they're bringing in this Corey Lewandowski. He was part of the administration's. He was part of the campaign, and he got himself in some trouble. But Trump relies on him. He's loyal, and he's going to try and come in and fix some of the crises that continue.
Yeah, this is just terrible. This is terrible for my party. It's terrible for the country, and shame on President Trump during his campaign for allowing people like Michael Flynn to be so involved. At the end of the day, we know Michael Flynn was in cahoots with the Russians. He had gone out there and spoken to them for fees. He had worked for the government of Turkey, Turkey's interests. And the man did not belong anywhere near a campaign for president. I mean, he didn't. And then we begin to study the issue more and more, and we begin to see a lot more ties to Russian officials. This is going to get so nasty. The reason why you see people so concerned about the word collusion is that it's a legal term that involves intent, it involves a conspiracy, and it involves to willfully disregard the rules and the laws. So any official that goes and testifies before Congress has to be very careful not to use those words. Are these people acting as freelancers without the president's knowledge? Were they directed by the president to contact Russia so that they can hack these emails and put them out to somehow impact the election? These are important questions. I think that the president lawyering up is important because he's going to be central to this investigation, and I think his lawyers have to be prepared to protect him from what will be an onslaught of attacks of other people trying to protect their reputations. And we're going to see a lot of that in the next few months. In the meantime, our party, my Republican Party, is going to be suffering incredibly. These are some of the things that I warned about last year, that if you elect someone without any political experience to this position, someone who just became a Republican yesterday, you're going to run into problems in governing and how people will perceive them. You're seeing it right now. This is total chaos, and we don't deserve this right now.
Let me dance into issues a little bit closer to Bronxites, because we talk about the president while he's off abroad. The 2018 budget is out there right now. Lots of Bronxites, lots of people here in the borough really concerned about the cuts that are coming, specifically with Medicare, specifically to food stamps, and where this goes from here. As we're speaking right now, House Democrats are on Washington's Hill now holding a press conference talking about their discuss with the president's new budget. Where do we see this going? Because we do understand that it's got to first. How do we see this bill first of all passing the House and the Senate?
We don't see it passing. I think a lot of Bronxites can rest and relax. This budget's not going anywhere. Because the president is having such a difficult time in his own current situation, I see Republicans backing away from him. As you mentioned last week, that they're going to see the president as kryptonite. And for them to sign on to a bill or even vote for a bill like this pretty much establishes what the Republican Party thinks of the people. And the bill, as it stands right now, it will hurt as many of Trump's constituents, the people who came out and voted for him, the people who came out to his rallies and supported him no matter what. When they find out how negatively they'll be impacted by what's happening, I think they're going to turn on them like a pack of wolves.
And specifically, he promised that he wouldn't touch Medicare. He promised he wouldn't touch Medicaid. He promised he wouldn't touch entitlements. And this budget completely destroys that promise to the people. I mean, this is so bad, and this is indicative of someone with very little experience in governing and in politics. See, governing in politics is more than just, saying only I can fix it. You need to have experience in knowing how to deal with budgets and how to deal with different interests and how to deal with people. And this is something that he didn't bring to the table. And I really hope that my party's leaders come in and step in and save us from ourselves, because this is going to be terrible. Listen, once the base hears that their entitlements are going to be impacted, that student loan forgiveness for graduates that are going into public service are going to be eliminated. These are things that hit home, and he better change this way of governing, because it's going to cost us. I'll give you an example. Last night, we had a seat in Long Island. The Republicans controlled the seat in Long Island since 2004. The incumbent had last won the election 65-35. I was out there. Republicans are not happy right now. Democrats are activated. Would you believe that last night in a race that the Republicans should have held that seat, it flipped to the Democrats by almost 20 points? No reason in the world other than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is impacting the party in New York in ways that are hurting us, and he needs to recognize that now and fix this issue before we get hurt even further.
Well, I brought this question up before. I asked you, the 2018 midterm elections coming around the corner, the possibility of losing seats and the possibility of how the Trump presidency is going to do that. Do you still feel today that the President Trump will enhance the party in terms of not being able to lose seats? You said before that we wouldn't lose seats.
I said before that his base, and you had mentioned earlier, those guys don't move. The base of Donald Trump, I don't know whether or not they will vote against him even though they're losing health. I don't know that. To be honest, when he says I can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a vote, that's yet to be tested. I can't, to be honest with you, after watching the campaign for the presidency, I can tell you that I don't think he's going to lose any votes. I do think there are going to be members that are going to lose votes, but the members are very different than Donald Trump. I mean, the members can get away with the things that Donald Trump does. So the president may still be popular in a lot of these districts, but I think that the parties within those congressional districts are going to turn on their members.
I would beg to differ big time on that, because again, the budget, when you look at the budget, the budget's going to be cutting things that are going to be near and dear to Republicans. They're experiencing right now a huge problem with opioids in their community, and that'll be one of the top things that the president is going to be cutting. When they actually see that the president did not meet his promise on health care, not even close to it. Fewer people. And by the way, today, as a matter of fact, this thing is going to blow up. And I generally like to break a little news here every week. It's going to blow up today because the budget is going to committee is going to come out and tell us how that health care bill has been scored. And considering the fact that the first one that they tried to get through and wasn't able to even bring to the floor nailed 24 million people off and raised premiums for seniors and pretty much wrecked the whole concept of pre-existing conditions. When those details come out and those numbers come out, it'll be even worse than the budget that we're considering right now.
I don't think we're being clear. I don't think we really disagree here. Well, maybe. Think about this. Trump's base is loyal as loyal can be. This is a man who said the most terrible things during the campaign. And these people came out hardcore for him. When we poll them, they're still at 89, 91% approval of their guy. So then I ask you, is it the fact that he's going to lose his base or that the Democrats are super activated why he's going to end up suffering politically? I think it's the latter. I don't think it's the former. I think that these guys are looking at all the news coming attacking him as fake news. They see this as a witch hunt. And I think that the Democrats right now and independent voters are super activated.
So I'll give you an example. So he talked about saving carrier jobs. We now know the carrier jobs is losing and they're going to Mexico. This is something that he talked about. There's a certain there's a certain part of America that says, you know what? I voted for him because he's going to keep manufacturing jobs here. And now we see manufacturing jobs going. You don't see that base leaving?
No. I don't see them leaving because he never provided you any detail during the campaign. He didn't. And any detail that he provided about a 30% tariff on any goods coming back to the United States was unreasonable, it was unconscionable, and it didn't make any sense in economics at all. So I don't think that that's going to sell. All he has to say is, I tried to save the day. The bad guys won this time around. We're going to beat them next time. I don't see these guys abandoning Donald Trump. If you consider everything he said and done, and they're still loyal to him, I think that the only thing you have going on for you is the fact that the Democrats and the liberals and this resistance movement is no joke. And people that were asleep on election day are awake, and they've woken up their cousins, their uncles, their neighbors, and everybody's ready to come out and vote against anything that is Republican.
It's not just the resistance movement. The resistance movement has found a way into what's called the deep state. If you look up what the deep state is, it's a government within a government. And what's happening right now, I believe a lot of people, these are patriots, these are lifetime government employees. A lot of the leaks that are going on right now is coming out of the deep state because they realize that there's something fundamentally wrong that's happening at the top. And in order to save the country, they have to do whatever they feel that they have to do. And when they see things, they're saying things. And that's
you agree
and
with
they're
me
sending
then. You don't
they're sending
disagree?
they're sending these leaks out there. The media is eating it up. Obviously, these people feel comfortable enough with the media because they've developed relationships so they can send these. If you get busted on one of those links we're talking about.
It's not Trump's
Okay, so
base.
let me say this. I've been keeping score 2-1, right, for the course of the month. You always got the last word, so
Right.
you can get the last word now. You said what you said, so you get the last word now.
Sure.
This is
Want to be fair, because you're going to come back.
I got to tell you, look, this is the resistance is super activated. I'm telling you right now that my party has to get this act fixed before we end up losing the House of Representatives and the Senate in 2018.
If that's the last word, you can have that.
And I'm one of the most objective journalists you know.
And I'm the most objective dude you know.
JC Lee, good to see you, man. We'll talk to you next week. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more show. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs, just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Adopting a new pet is a rewarding experience. And shelter pets make super pets. Your new best friend will steal your heart, bring you happiness, and enrich your life for years to come. You can make a difference in the life of an animal. Adopt and bring home a shelter pet today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
Look at me, hey.
Raymond, look at mommy.
Maybe the light hurts his eyes.
Maybe she's just not hungry. Maybe he can't hear us. Maybe we're not stimulating him enough. Maybe it's a phase.
Avoiding eye contact is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Well, as a kickoff celebration for Father's Day, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. hosted the Bronx Fathers Taking Action event, tennis night for fathers and their children. Katie Aloy Knight has the story.
As part of Bronx Week 2017, the Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr. hosts the Bronx Fathers Taking Action event, Tennis Night with Dad. Father's Day is celebrated every year, the third Sunday of June. So what better way to start celebrating fathers by engaging them in a game of tennis, right at the Carey Lead Center for Tennis and Learning at Crotona Park.
Well, I think this is a terrific evening, and this is what we're all about, bringing together families and children around the sport of tennis. This collaboration with the BFTA is just terrific. All these dads out here, which you can see, I don't know if they have played much, but they're out there having a good time with their kids, and we're thrilled to have them.
This game of tennis includes tennis skill exercises, drill, and free play to strengthen father and child involvement.
Now, the past 2 years, we have been doing the tennis. And what we have is the kids going out playing tennis with their fathers, having instructors teach them how to play tennis, because this is a great facility to play tennis in the middle of the Bronx, which not too many boroughs have what we have in the Bronx to play tennis in a stadium-like tennis court. What we do in the Bronx is have different organizations come and speak to fathers on different issues that they may have, and where they can come to speak to them. If they have issues, problems, they can always go to them. And then we work with schools. We go to schools, speak at schools. We go to centers, speak at centers. Like we have a big event coming up now at Bronx River Center. We having barbecue, party, music, and giveaways in the park.
Bronx Week celebrates everything that makes the Bronx great, and celebrating fathers is one of them. For more information about Bronx Week 2017, visit the website ilovethebronx.com. For BronxNet, I am Katie Aloy Knight.
In other news, according to the Department of Education, nearly 110,000 public school students from low-income families struggle to afford school lunch fees. Those who are eligible for free school lunches are afraid to eat due to the poverty stigma circled around it. Now, advocates say the solution to the problem is universal free lunch. Joining us now to discuss this issue is the Executive Director of Community Advocate Food, Liz Ackles, and we thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me here.
Good to have you. As we talk about this here, obviously, we here in the Bronx have a huge problem. The city has a huge problem. And I know this was a part of the mayor's campaign promises. Where do we stand right now?
So right now, we have universal free school lunch in middle schools, 6th through 8th grade middle schools, and some high schools, select high schools, and some elementary schools. And we're pushing for universal free school lunch to be truly universal and be available to all students, all 1.1 million students.
And so when we talk about universal free lunch for students, give us a little bit of a background as to what exactly that means for everybody, because somebody out there may not be fully aware.
Okay. So the idea of universal free school lunch is right now, and for decades, all across the country, not just in New York City, there's a tale of two cities in the cafeteria. And anyone that's been in public schools over the years knows this. And what happens is children are separated by income in the school lunch program. And over the years, it's become more subtle, but children still know who's eligible and who's not. So there are children who are eligible for free lunch. 75% of New York City public school students have income under $35,000 a year for a household of 3. And so that's 780,000 students are eligible for free lunch right now. But 250,000 of those students don't participate in the program, even though their families are struggling to make ends meet. There are additional 110,000 children who are above the income cutoff, whose families have to pay for school lunch and don't have the $1.75 to pay. So there are literally hundreds of thousands of New York City public school students whose families are struggling financially, who sit out of lunch at lunchtime saying they're not hungry or don't like the way the food looks because the poverty stigma, especially as children get older, they start dropping out of the program. And for many children whose family are above the income cutoff, they worry about accruing bills that their family can't pay.
So free lunch now would definitely, to you, in your perspective, really just put everybody on an equal playing field.
That's exactly right. That's the idea. The notion of public schools is that children shouldn't be identified or divided by income, and this would just make this part of the school day and put everyone on an equal playing field.
What other benefits would come through this?
Well, it's a few different things. Well, as you mentioned, this was one of the mayor's campaign promises. This is a basic education equity issue, health equity issue, and anti-hunger initiative. There is really not one thing for such a modest investment that can address these 3 basic issues across the board. So we have terrible income disparities in the city, and many, many children in families who are struggling to make ends meet. And this means children eating or not eating. And a hungry child can't thrive in school. So how do you talk about any education equity initiative, no matter what you say, without making sure that it's built on the premise that all children are starting the school day and getting through the school day with food in their stomach?
We talked in the last segment about the possible cuts that are coming through the 2018 budget, federal government, the president's revealing that. Given the fact that there's so many cuts that are coming, food stamps, Medicare, possibly on the table, any concern here about how this might affect what you're looking for?
Well, I think there are significant concerns. The mayor just spoke about the president's budget and about 500,000 children that will be at risk just for the food stamp cuts that the president's proposing. I agree with Lee that this probably won't move through both houses of Congress, but it sets the stage for something pretty bad. So we know there are bad things coming down from the federal level, and New York City is a city with resources, and making sure children can eat in school is something that's very local, completely doable on the city level, maximizing that program.
So where do you see things going from here?
Well, we're kind of leading up to the end of this budget session. We're in an election year. This was one of the mayor's campaign promises. We have near unanimous support in the city council, the public advocate. We have all 5 borough presidents pushing for this. Every school-based union, the DC 37, United Federation of Teachers, and the Principals Union. So we are feeling hopeful that the mayor will come through this year and make sure that free school lunch is available truly universally.
Yeah, we reported on that here, and our Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., of course, one of those who co-signed on it, along
exactly
with all
right.
5 of the borough presidents who wanted to do that. I wanted to let you have the opportunity to tell a little bit about the Lunch for Learning campaign.
Yeah, so the Lunch for Learning campaign, as I was mentioning, is a coalition-based campaign that Community Food Advocates is spearheading. Over 200 organizations, as I mentioned, almost all the city council members. This is a campaign for universal free school lunch. It's a priority of the city council, again, public advocate, borough presidents, pediatric organizations. Everyone is saying, let's get this done. Let's make sure children in schools are starting on an equal playing field in terms of food. This is something that can make the city more affordable. So for a family above the income level, 110,000 families above the income level, between $35,000 and $50,000 a year, it can be often the difference between paying an electric bill or making sure your child gets lunch in school. And this is something that just should not be something that families and parents have to consider.
If I've got people out here watching right now and they want to say, listen, how do I support this? I agree with this. What do I do? Is there a campaign they can get on board? What do they do?
Sure. So our website is lunch with the number 4, learning, lunch for learning, nyc.org. You can go on there and sign up and we'll get you involved.
So as we're talking about students who have to qualify right now, what's the number of students that have to qualify pretty much for free lunch now?
Well, it's about 780,000 students are eligible now, right? And out of 1.1 million. But again, 250,000 or a third of those students don't participate, largely due to the poverty stigma that's long been associated with the programs. Teenagers, preteens, peer pressure is intense, and you can't underestimate what that means. Students in that age group really will just sit on the sidelines and go through the day hungry. Or if they have $1 and can get a bag of chips and something to drink, they'll do that and just kind of keep something in their stomach. So this is something that, should just be available to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Liz Eccles, Executive Director of Community Food Advocates, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you very much.
All righty, listen, stay tuned. We got more show, another segment coming up right after this. There'll be more open right after these messages.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So they say it's a man's world?
Well, I don't see anybody's name on it. While they were out doing their thing, we slowly changed all that. We changed all that. Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
A Top Meaningful World is an organization dedicated to bringing peace and helping people through major disasters. Here now discussing the organization's mission trip, the recent mission trip to Armenia, along with upcoming mission trips to Haiti. We welcome now BronxNet and Vice President of Meaningful World, Lorraine Simmons, and good to have you. Good morning.
Yes.
So you guys do some, pardon the pun, meaningful work really in terms of missions and going about and really helping those who are less fortunate. And share with us a little bit about Meaningful World.
Well, we're an organization that is a charitable organization. We're associated with the United Nations. We've been an organization for 27 years, and we do outreach here in the U.S., as well as 45 different countries around the world we've been to. Mm-hmm. And we recently, as you said, went to Armenia for a mission. Armenia was our very first mission 27 years ago after the earthquake. So, and our founder, Dr. Ani Kalajan, is Syrian, but she's Armenian. She was born in Syria in Aleppo. So Armenia has a very soft spot in her heart. Yeah. So she went there after the earthquake in 1989, I believe it was. So we returned this year with the idea that we would work with the Syrian Armenians. They don't like to be called refugees because to them the word refugee means that they're victims. They like to see themselves as contributors to society. They all come with high education. They don't want to be seen as victims. So the Syrian Armenians, we worked with them. Our other goal was to establish suicide hotlines because we're finding that research is showing that the suicide rate with the younger adolescents as well as the adults has increased.
Any particular reason why?
Well, I think because with the fall of the Soviet Union, they don't have the job opportunities that they did. There's a lot of the suicide rate could be with the Syrians as well. So they just don't have the opportunity to grow. So a lot of the men in particular and families are going out to Russia and into other countries for work. So they're leaving their families home. So maybe the adolescents, their parents are separated because of the job situation. The fathers are out working, so the mothers are raising them. They're probably feeling a little bit of depression and lack of hope for any kind of growth for themselves.
And we have some pictures, I'm sure we'll show them in a few minutes, of some of the work that you guys have done in Armenia. Give us a little bit about the trip to Armenia and what was that like this time around?
This time around, we worked with, like I said, the Syrian Armenians. So we were at a clinic, but our program is a humanitarian outreach for emotional intelligence, for trauma relief, for mental health. So that's the kind of organization we are. We have a 7-step integrative healing model, which assesses the situation, and you can use this with individuals or with groups. Allow the person or the group to express themselves. Then we move on to expressing empathy or validation to that person so that that person feels like they're being heard. They're not alone. The next step is to then move into meaning making and learning the lessons that you learn from the experience. That's the step that takes you from being a victim to a victor. So it's a really important step. Then we help people understand the resources they have available, but then we also help them to move the energy through their body through exercises. So some of the photos that I have are showing.
Take me back to those because I want to go back to one because I think the very first one I saw a group of people out there. We're going to go take a look at that. I want you to give me a little bit of a definition on that. You know,
so this group is at the end of our training where we do it's a heart-to-heart circle of gratitude and love. And it brings the people together and it helps them through meditation and through expressing their gratitude for their lives. So we do this with every group. And people always seem to come together. People who may not have been speaking to one another before the training end up you know, seeing that, oh, okay, we're all really here together, we're all alike, and we can do this.
And so, in addition to that, you know, you go and you're taking yourselves to Haiti. But before we talk about your upcoming trip to Haiti, there's a very special guest that's sitting on my desk right here, and I'm sure my camera will catch this one here. But talk to me about this very special guest here.
Well, these are what we call our heart hug dolls, and about 3 years ago now, I started making these dolls. They're all handmade. I make them. My son helps me make them, and we give them to the orphans when we go to the orphanages. But the special part about it is that there's a pocket here. And we ask the adults in any groups that we work with to write prayers or special messages to the children, put them in the pocket, so when the kids get them, it may be the only toy they've ever had, right? It may be the only toy that they have ever had. It has the prayer so that they feel like someone is out there for them. Wow. So we give them out. This last batch that I made makes 200 dolls.
Really? Congratulations, and that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, as we said, you've done Armenia, and now you're getting set to go to Haiti.
Correct. It will be our 12th mission to Haiti, and it's a very different atmosphere to work with the Haitians versus the Armenians. The political situation there is very desperate. The educational system there is very low. There's a very low literacy rate. So people are struggling just to survive day to day. So they have, I call it a bit of a hopelessness, because they feel like they can't look forward to something in the future. Very many, you know, very often they're just struggling to find food for the day, find a place to sleep. And with the recent hurricane, a lot of the crops in the southern tip of the country are grown there. So a lot of them were wiped out. So this year in particular, they don't have the food resources. So the food that's being imported is very expensive. So there's a lot of hunger going on there. So when you go there to work and talk about empathy and talk about empowerment and things like that and emotional intelligence, they're struggling just to eat. So very often we'll bring them food when we go to work with them, you know, especially with the children. So to see the poverty level, it's very difficult. It's a very difficult and a different kind of mission.
Walk me through about how many volunteers travel with you and how you guys are able to go and travel, because you do about how many trips a year?
2 to 3. 2 to 3 at this point. And we would certainly do more if we had the funding. But like I said before, we do pay for our own missions. The team typically consists of 4 to 5 people. We have people that are in the country that we work in that have worked with us many times before. So they're there, psychologists, psychiatrists, it could be a video crew. You know, it just depends on where we are and what we have available. But there are people there. We hire them, so we help them that way. We pay them when we get there. But then our team is typically, this team to Haiti will be 3 people.
Okay. So if people want more information, how do they go about helping you if they say, listen, I want to help?
Oh, we'd love that. And we sponsor children too, and we take the money directly to them, either to go to school or to help with food and medical expenses, things like that. Our website is www.meaningfulworld.com, and there's a donate button right there.
Yeah, you see the information at the bottom of the screen, and certainly you can help out Lorraine and those who do real meaningful work. And thank you so much for the work that you do and for coming and sharing a little bit about your organization.
Thank you.
All righty.
All right.
Taking a quick break. We'll be back with more shows. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally. I did. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands? My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that strollers have the right of way on a sidewalk?
Yes.
Yep, I did. Did you guys
Did you know that kids who eat breakfast have higher GPAs?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's actually what I was gonna say.
Did you know babies should never touch silver? It's really bad for them.
I knew that.
Did you guys know that statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected.
I'm putting that on my blog.
I just put it in mine.
Like-Minded People NYC is committed to helping their community grow through many events. Here now discussing their organization along with their upcoming events, we welcome now the co-founders. We've got Christian Kumtug as well as Sasha Sincere. We thank you so much for coming and sharing with us, and welcome back again. We had you on before, and you're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
Good.
The pleasure is ours. I'm excited. The last time we were here, it was the first year doing the African Cup of New York. Right here at Mulali Park, a couple stops away from here. And this is the second edition. Although it's an African Cup of New York, we had Team Argentina and Team Colombia partake in the tournament. So we are looking forward to more nations being part of this tournament this year.
Walk us back to last year. How was it for you? I mean, I know it was a lot of anticipation how it was going to go, and worried about it. But how did it turn out for you?
It was great. You always get nervous preparing up until the day of, and everybody showed up. It was an amazing day of celebration, celebrating what we call a beautiful game. Soccer is known as a beautiful game. So it was sad for Team Chad that I brought at the end because Team USA won. But overall,
it had to happen. I see you have the red, white, and blue shirt on today too. You can show the love. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you.
But give us a little about this year. I mean, obviously some events happening this year, and what can we look to see?
Well, this year, especially this weekend, we're putting something together for filmmakers throughout the city. Our platform is based on collectively starting initiatives where people can get to talk to each other and build upon formulating productive communities. African Cup of NYC is not just a platform for people to have fun, but afterwards get together with each other, formulate ideas, see what skills that they bring to the table and what could come of that. So this weekend we're doing something for filmmakers. A lot of filmmakers of the African diaspora, Caribbean, and so forth don't have a place where they can actually talk to each other and work on projects. And New York City's big on films. You see it all over the subways. But as far as us getting together to talk, you don't see it. So we're doing that.
And so the opportunity for guys to come together, what's going to take place and what can people expect?
Well, the 27th is Spotlight on Africa, and it's really a platform for not only filmmakers but New Yorkers. I mean, like-minded people really want to take advantage of this cultural wealth that exists in New York. We do have events in the Bronx, we have events in Brooklyn, we have events in Harlem. We have yet to have events in Queens, but that's part of the excitement. It's coming. But not only being the platform, but also creating conversation. I am from the Republic of Chad. I don't know how many people you know from Chad. He's from Haiti, and we have a network of people from all over the world, like I mentioned, Argentina, Colombia, all over. So being able to have conversations, have dialogues, allow communities to come together and get rid of a lot of misconception that exist. For whatever reason, people have their own understanding of certain communities, but having conversation open doors for understanding.
Yeah, I know Sasha was smiling during that because I think that conversation piece is something we don't really have. And in a day and a time when it seems like we celebrate the fact of difference, to come together is almost anti these days.
Absolutely. If you look at Bronx, which is an extremely diverse borough of New York City, you get an opportunity just standing on Grand Concourse to see Dominicans, to see Jamaicans, to see Ghanaians and so forth. But the interaction is very limited. But if we formulate platforms where we can actually talk to each other, taste each other's food, or play on a field, or talk about the subjects of the day, we can see how much we relate to each other. And I think that's very important as a melting pot of not only the East Coast, but the entire United States.
So we got the events coming up. What else is around the corner? I mean, if people want to take part, what do they do?
It's exciting because we just got a website, lmpnyc.org, lmpnyc1.org, or the long one, like-mindedpeoplenyc.org. We bought all 3 domains, so people, you will never get lost. You'll find us. So
we have 3 doors.
Yeah, 3. There it is. 3 ways in. 3 ways in.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
But as far as events, we have May 27th. We have June 3rd, which is Uzuri Swahili for Beautiful, art exhibition. It's a Saturday, June 3rd. We have June 25th, the African Cup of NYC. We have July 8th. We have the Akwaba Picnic. Akwaba is a Twi language in Ghana, which means welcome. And that's the beautiful thing about like-minded people. We want to utilize these African names and educate as well. Besides creating platform, also educate.
Yeah, because as you say something like that, we gotta say, what does that mean? What's that about?
Yeah,
then the conversation actually begins, and then you go from there. You guys got a lot of great things happening. I want to thank you guys for coming. Come on back. You know how you do, and come on back and talk about us, and we'll be glad to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, no problem.
Appreciate
no problem. So good luck and best wishes with the fest.
Thank you.
All righty, listen. We come to the end of our show today. We want to thank our guests for joining us. Most of all, I want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the Recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files, that's 33, or you can watch us anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. I'm Darren Jaime. It's been a pleasure coming to your homes. Until next time we meet, stay safe, keep this channel wide open, and take care. God bless.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.